Cosmic. How's it going, everybody? Happy Friday. Good to see you. I'm just opening it up on my phone so that I can keep tabs on comments and you can hear me. Hear my beautiful voice ringing in the background. So, any of you who are new to Cosmic TV, welcome. Anybody who is not, welcome back. Hi, hi, hi. Cosmic TV is like a spiritual and metaphysical Netflix. So you're going to be able to find Cosmic TV on the App Store, on cosmictelevision.com, here on Facebook. You'll find other shows like this. You'll find films from conscious filmmakers, courses, all sorts of fun stuff for your spiritual and metaphysical journey. It's such a beautiful community of people. So definitely say hello when you're jumping on. And if you are tuning in on Emerge Healing and Wellness or in another group, definitely jump over to Cosmic TV, because when you jump over to Cosmic, I can chat with you live here and we can be besties. So for those of you who are new to me, my name is Laura Mazzotta and I am an Akashic healer and teacher. I'm also a Reiki master and a former therapist. And I am here today and all days to share the wisdom of the Akashic Records and the universe to assist you with making your healing path as profound and enduring as possible. I know very clearly that we have the ability to heal ourselves at all layers. And so I'm here to assist you with that and to offer any guidance and inspiration and motivation to be able to move forward and really advocate for yourself. And today, we're going to be talking about advocacy. We're going to be talking about self-advocacy and really being able to tune into your own wisdom of your body, of your mind, of your heart, to be able to speak your mind without apology, right? We want to speak our minds without apology, and we don't want to feel like we are just having the way that we live our lives dictated to us by other people, whether that comes to doctors or therapists or a boss in our lives or a family member or our spouse or a partner or even our children, right? So it's really important when we're talking about advocacy for ourselves or anybody else. There are a few questions here that come forward, right? And please say hello if you're jumping on so that I know that the chat is working, because my phone's been pretty glitchy. So I just want to make sure that I'm not coming across as glitchy here, especially on a full moon in Taurus with a partial lunar eclipse. How are you feeling on this full moon and partial lunar eclipse Friday? Because I know that I have had a lot of lovely things stirred up in my field this week, and it's all good. I mean, it's all of service, right? But it's important for us to be gentle with ourselves and have awareness of how this energy is impacting us so that we don't get into our minds and overanalyze and get lost in the human sauce. So there's some important questions that come forward around advocacy. And one of the things, I'm going to share a story first before we jump into those questions. So one of the things that I noticed is that when I was pregnant with my first child, I have 3 children, but when I was pregnant with my first child, like 15 years ago, I remember taking care of my body and shifting my eating and the way that I took care of myself so differently than when I wasn't pregnant. And it came to me during that time. I was like, why is it that we take such good care of ourselves when we're pregnant, when we're carrying another human, but we don't do it on the day to day, right? So what is it about that we're not going to choose to make these changes for ourselves or to educate ourselves about what's best for our physiology unless we are growing a human, right? And the same thing goes for when I had children, is being able to say, I will open my mouth and be the fierce tiger mama till the ends of the earth for my child. So why won't I do that for myself, right? We have this ability to do this for people that we care about, or for other people in our lives, or for people who we feel don't have a voice or might be more fragile, but we're not doing it for ourselves. And I think that part of that is pride. You know, we don't want to view ourselves as fragile. We don't want to view ourselves as beings that need an advocate, because that implies that there is something in us that isn't independent and strong, especially in this country, especially in the United States, because it's very sovereignty and independence and freedom driven, which is great, but we don't want to forget the collaborative nature of what we are meant to be experiencing here on the planet as human beings. So I don't know if there's no comments or if I'm not seeing them today, but I'm not seeing anything come up. So I'm not ignoring you if you've placed something in and I'm not seeing the comments for you. So So there's questions we want to ask here, right? Around advocacy. First of all, it's how are you already advocating in your life? How are you advocating for other people, for the disadvantaged, for people who you may view as fragile, even if they don't feel that way, but that you feel need advocacy? You know, what are you advocating for already? And this could be in your own life. This could be you speaking up. It could be you claiming your authority in a certain area. It could be you claiming your authority in your relationship, in your most intimate relationship, okay? So it's important to identify where you're already advocating. This often happens if you do have children, or even if you have pets, that you're advocating for their best health, that you're advocating for their best state, right? And so it's important for us to identify where we're already doing that, because then we're able to have this buy-in in our minds and our egos, right? We have this buy-in around the fact that we already have the skills, the fact that we already know how to do it, the fact that we're already motivated. This is not something we have to conjure up and create. It's something that naturally exists within us, okay? So that's question one, is where are you already being an advocate in your life, okay? The other question here is, what is it that you stand for, right? Thank you, Cassidy. I so appreciate the comments so that I know that they're working. Thank you. I bought this sweatshirt years ago and I'm obsessed with it. The hood is gigantic. See, I have this gigantic hood and it's so cozy. My hair's a disaster today, by the way. But anyway, so that's the other question. The other question is, you know, number one, where are you already an advocate? Number two, what is it that you stand for in this life? What do you stand for? What is like your deepest value? What is the thing that happens? Sometimes we notice this when we get really pissed off about shit, you know, or something happens and it really bugs us or really rubs us the wrong way, right? And if it really rubs us the wrong way, it allows us to be able to see, oh, okay, that's something I'm passionate about. Especially when we get pissed, right? When we get pissed, that means you are passionate about that. It's funny because some people will say, oh, well, I hate that person, so no, they don't bother me. And I'm like, well, guess what? When you hate something, when you're livid with something or mad about something, that means you're emotionally attached to it. If you're truly not emotionally attached, then you're indifferent. That's the sign you look for when you're not emotionally attached to something. But when you're pissed or you're enraged or you're mad, or irritated, you're emotionally attached to whatever that is, which means that there's a cord that's being pulled within you, which means that there's a level of importance that this holds for you. Cassidy says, also think that people don't advocate for themselves because they want others to do it for them, the way you might do it for someone else. That's a really good point too. That's such a good point. I agree. And I found this a lot in the mental health field, to be honest, when I was working as a traditional therapist. There's a mindset. I was even talking about about this with somebody this morning when I was recording a podcast that's going to be airing at the beginning of 2022. And yeah, we were talking about how people come into the medical and mental health field very often with something already going on. Like they have a symptom or they have, you know, a pattern that's been presenting for them that they want to fix, that they want to reverse. And so they're coming to you to say, I want you to fix this. Right? Or I want you to advocate. I mean, one of my biggest roles as a therapist was advocacy. And I would advocate for my patients with their parents, or I would advocate with their schools, or I would advocate with their doctors, or, you know, or with a nutritionist, or whoever it was I was communicating with on their team. And so it's like, help be my voice until I'm able to gain my voice, right? And I actually think there's a good place for that. You know, there is a good place for that temporarily. And the idea is that you then internalize that and then you're able to use your voice yourself to be able to move forward, right? This is why I love energy healing, because all we have to do is tune into the throat chakra and realign it and be able to offer guidance with somebody's throat chakra to be able to say, hey, you know what? You're a little dim here. We need to amplify this. Here's the steps of how you can do that, right? So that's a really good point. Thanks for bringing that forward, because that's another piece with advocacy. But it's knowing, what do I stand for? What are those things that rub me the wrong way or that get me riled up, right? Those are the things that are important to you. And we want to advocate for the things that are important to us. And this could be in our own lives or in somebody else's life, right? So for me, I am clearly an advocate for mental illness. I'm also an advocate for chronic physical illness, right? And so that means that if somebody says, oh my gosh, well, that person has fibromyalgia, so yeah, they just complain all the time about their pain or something like that, you can sure bet that I'm going to pipe up and say, everybody's different. Everybody experiences illness differently. Just because you have a certain diagnosis does not mean that you have a specific protocol that you need or are going to follow for the rest of your life, and you're going to fit into a box with everybody else. And I think that's what happens a lot with advocacy, is that we're able to see where we want to advocate in those areas that we feel we've been put in a box, or we feel we've been held back or trapped or stuck or haven't been able to use our voice in the past. And so being able to advocate for yourself really allows you to stand in your personal authority. And then naturally, you're going to have professional authority if you are somebody who is a professional, because you're owning it already with who you are in your natural life, where you're the most comfortable with the most comfortable people, with the most natural interactions, right? Once you can master that, you've got authority down, and it's going to be able to translate throughout the rest of your life. And so one of the best ways to do that is to advocate for yourself. This doesn't mean that you have to go guns blazing and screaming and preaching and standing on your soapbox all the time. That's not what advocacy means. Advocacy means I know what I stand for very confidently. And when that comes forward, I am able to speak about it with clarity and with conviction and with intention. So what are those areas that you feel this way about? What do you stand for? This helps us connect to our values. And sometimes it can be helpful for us to assess, okay, where am I putting my time and energy? What am I spending my life on? What am I spending my day on? Right? And does that align with my values? And if it doesn't, you need to advocate for yourself with yourself. You need to say to yourself, like, all right, this is an awareness that I have now. I have the ability to speak to myself in a compassionate way and say, I understand this is the way that we've done it before. I understand that this is an example from my own life. I understand that you've typically had migraines around your cycle. I understand that that comes up on a monthly basis. However, that's how it's been, but it doesn't have to be how it always is. That's no longer how we're doing this. I'm taking this authoritative stance with myself and with my physical body to be able to create a pattern that does align with what I desire, that does align with where I'm going in my life. And this can apply for mental health or physical health, right? This also comes up in meeting with doctors, whether we're talking about medical providers or therapists. How many of you have come into a doctor's office or a therapist's office and then left and been like, oh my gosh, like that was useless? But did you say anything? Did you stand up for yourself? And this isn't about, again, you having an argument with somebody or getting into conflict, right? And pulling teeth. What it's about is just having a conversation and sharing an opinion and being able to say, well, I completely understand why you think that my sepsis is anxiety. However, my lactic acid is through the roof. And I know how my body feels, and this is not who I am. This is not how I operate, and something's wrong. And I know that that might not fit within the diagnostic tools that you have, and I totally get that that's where you're coming from. I totally get it. But at the same time, I know my body, and I know something's going on. What would you suggest? Who could I meet with to assist me with exploring this with greater depth, right? Because what we really want is to be able to appreciate ourselves holistically, to be able to trust our judgment. And ultimately, that's what underlies advocacy for ourselves or for other people, is knowing confidently, being really firm in a position on something. And I want you to be firm in a position on the fact that you are the ultimate authority with your own health, whether that's your mental health, whether that's your physical health, whether that's your cognitive health. You are the ultimate authority. Even if you don't have all of the educational answers or all the information, yes, then go have a conversation with a doctor. Go have a conversation with a therapist. Go have a conversation with a professional to gather information so that then you can put that on the table and make a decision from your authority so that you can advocate for yourself simply by saying, I do have a brain, I do have an intuition, I do have a connection with myself, and I know what I see for my future. So that's one of the other questions here that's really important for you to discover. And what a perfect time to do that, other than the full moon, right? Especially during an eclipse, is to be able to identify, where am I going? What do I see for myself? What do I see for my future? What is my vision that not only I desire, but that I truly feel is coming in my life? Sometimes that's the hardest part, is to figure that out, because that's also going to be information to help you understand, what do you stand for? What do you believe for? Not what do you believe in, but what do you believe for? That was a beautiful question brought forward by one of my mentors. That if you continue to return to that, no matter how much doubt or illness or pain or shame or anything comes forward for you, you can return to that and allow yourself to keep moving forward with momentum, right? So it's, where can you stand taller and speaking your truth in this way and allow your inner child to really have a voice at a time when they may not have in the past? It's a real gift to your own healing, and it's part of the healing process to advocate for yourself. And again, you get to approach this from a place of love. Do not feel like this has to be you, guns blazing, screaming and crying. So does anybody here have questions or want some feedback or guidance from the Akash around areas where you desire to advocate more boldly for yourself, or where you're struggling with doing that? This is something that I've had to learn in multiple different areas of my life. In my relationship, as a parent, as a therapist, as a healer, as a public figure here online on a consistent basis, as a caretaker of my own physical body. So feel free to drop something in the comments. You can certainly tag me and I can come back and answer your questions after this live. How do you motivate yourself to become your own advocate? It gets exhausting doing it every day, multiple times a day. It does. It gets so tiring. Trust me, I've totally been there. So honestly, one of the best ways that I motivate myself to become my best advocate is to remember where I'm going, to remember what I ultimately desire and where I'm headed in my life. And number two, although it might be number one, to be honest with you, it's probably number one, is really getting in touch with my heart space and connecting to my higher self. Allowing that to be my driver, you know? The driver doesn't have to be me. So in that moment, if you're feeling that desire to advocate, or you need the motivation, call in your angels, call in your guides, call in spirit, call in God, call in the Akashic Records, call in your team, and be able to say, you know, guide me. Guide me into where I'm meant to be using my voice in this moment. Guide me into what is meant to be coming forward, to transmute, to understand, to work through. Because advocacy is also about knowing yourself really, really intimately, right? Because we don't know what we stand for if we don't know ourselves. If we can't navigate that, we can navigate that. You just have to choose to. And in terms of it getting exhausting every day, sometimes motivating yourself to advocate for yourself is about giving yourself rest, is about being able to tell yourself, it's really, really safe for me to advocate for my own rest day, and to say, you know what, I'm tired. Today, I'm just going to allow myself to just feel it, to just let the energetic waves come with a confident knowledge that this will flow through me and that tomorrow's a new day. And you don't even have to set it up for the whole entire day and say that that's going to happen all day. You can say that this is going to happen for this hour, right? I'm allowed to claim this for this hour and then have a different hour the next hour. You know, don't feel like you have to do this alone. You're never alone in this process. And I think that's what a lot of people feel like, and then they get defeated because they'll go to therapists or they'll go to medical providers, and it's just like, oh, well, this is just anxiety, or this is this or that, or this fits into this bucket, or, you know, try this technique or try that technique. And they get defeated and frustrated. Instead, make it a conversation. Don't put people on a pedestal. Don't put your therapist on a pedestal. Don't put healers on a pedestal. Don't put doctors on a pedestal. Okay? They are people just like you. When you put them on a pedestal, you're disempowering yourself. Yes, they might have more data and medical knowledge than you do about something. That doesn't mean they are smarter than you. That doesn't mean they know better than you. You're still the most in tune with your body. So you take the data, you put it together with your intuition, you're able to say, that's an interesting perspective. I had not thought of that, and I didn't know that information. Thank you for giving that to me. I'm going to integrate that, and then I'll get back to you. It's not, thank you for the prescription. I'm going to go fill it and take it blindly because you told me to. You may still decide to take it, that's fine, but stand in your authority, stand in your own advocacy, and align it with who you know to be yourself to be. And if you don't know yourself to be anything, get in touch with who you are. Get to know yourself more intimately. One of the best ways that I love to get myself to know myself more intimately and to be able to be really, really clear about what I stand for and what I am meant to advocate for myself and others is through writing. Writing is my rawest work. It's my most vulnerable work. I do it in the space of the Akashic Records every single day. It brings forward my most vulnerable side, my most raw emotion, my most raw truths. And sometimes they're not all things that I enjoy looking at. But you know what? It's funny because there's always a thread of joy in all of it because I know where it's taking me, because it's taking me to that next level, because it always does. And I always feel so much clarity afterwards. So much clarity. That's why I'm like the writing queen. Writing chapters, writing books, writing posts, writing journal prompts, writing blogs. I'm always writing. All day, every day I'm writing. It's my favorite modality in the space of the records. And I actually have a beautiful writing community that is starting on November 30th. It's called Transcribe Your Vibe. You're going to be able to join me in this, where we open the Akashic Records and where we really channel what is meant to be coming forward to open up space for not only knowing yourself more intimately, but to know what you stand for, to know what you're here for, to be able to forward that mission through your writing. Again, whether you're writing posts or you're just journaling or you're writing a book or whatever it happens to be. It's one of my strongest superpowers. People reach out to me constantly asking for me to edit their writing. And it's because not only am I good at it, but I love it. I love it. And the potent stuff comes through there. There's so much potent wisdom. So I'm going to drop the link to Transcribe Your Vibe. It's a bi-monthly community. We meet on Zoom for 60 minutes every other week. It starts on November 30th. It's only $77 a month. There's also a Facebook group where you're going to be able to post your writing material and be able to get feedback on whatever's coming forward. It's all just data that can be used. Also think that sometimes information that you don't agree with can be amazing. Yes, exactly. Exactly, because sometimes all it does is just, it gives us a starting point, right? It activates us in some way. Whether it's positive or negative, however we label it as humans, it's still information coming into the field that's activating our field, right? So I want you to feel activated and clear on where you need to advocate for yourself or for other people or in your mission on this planet. This is where the passion lies within me. I love this stuff. And I am so excited to invite you to join me to do it with me. Because honestly, this is like my most raw work. And I can't wait to do it in real time with people who are also desiring to have that clarity and that confidence and that I know what I stand for, I know what I'm here for, and I know how to present it confidently and with clarity in a way that draws people to me, those people who are most aligned. These could be friendships, these could be relationships, these could be clients, however you are choosing to use this information. So check it out. Let me know if you have questions. I'm really, really looking forward to writing with you. And I will be here live every Friday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern. I'm not going to be live next Friday because it's the day after Thanksgiving here in the US. And we're going to be driving back from my mom's house because we're going to be going to visit my mom. So for those of you in the United States who are celebrating, happy Thanksgiving to you and your loved ones. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I am certainly excited to spend time with my family and have lots of good cozy time. So I encourage you to do the same for yourself or with your loved ones. And whatever makes you feel warm and comforted, that's what this is about, right? That could be that you'd like to prefer going out and sitting on a rock in the middle of nature by yourself. Do it. Do it for sure. But this is really the season of sinking into gratitude and appreciation of ourselves. And this full moon in Taurus is really drawing attention to our bodies, really honoring and appreciating our physical bodies and sinking into a deep appreciation and gratitude for these containers that are carrying our souls through this lifetime. So I want you to take some time this weekend to really nourish your body, to get some rest, to drink water, to listen to your body's signals. This is all what it's about, is coming home to ourselves in our physical body. And I'm just so grateful to have this time with you and to be part of this community. So thank you for being part of this with me. And I will see you in 2 weeks for the next Imperfectly Well on Friday, December, I think it's the 2nd, but I can't fully remember. No, I think it's the 3rd, actually, at 2:15 p.m. Eastern. So I love you. Have a beautiful holiday, and I will see you soon. Bye.